Hi, second grade. We are on our last week of science lessons for this year. We are going to think a little bit more about building with objects. In our last couple lessons, we have thought about what types of objects would be good for building things. In fact, last week you were to get a group of materials to use to build something, and then I asked you to use those same materials to build something new. This week we are going to think about animals, and I want you to put some thoughts down in your science notebook. I want you to think about, do animals build? So take a moment, you can pause the video and then write what you think in your notebook. If you think that animals build. If you want to just write yes or no, you can do that. Or if you want to add more information about why you think they do or why you think they do not, you can do that as well. When you're ready, you can continue with this lesson. So, now that you've thought about whether animals build or not, I want you to think about, if they do build, what materials would they use? So that's an interesting thing to think about, because they can't go to the store and they don't have a home full of things. They have to use the materials that are around them if they're going to build something. So what would those materials be? We are going to watch a video that's going to help us answer those questions a little bit.
There's a weaver bird building a nest right in the tree above our tent. Really rather amazing the way they build a nest with their beak and with their feet. He's weaving his first grass strands. He makes kind of a loop and then attaches the others to it. I do get a crick in my neck watching them all the time, though, but it's fascinating to watch them build their nests. They go out and get blades of grass and just weave them together. Yeah, he's moving along. He's done this in about an hour. Right. Wow, 6 hours later, look how far he's come. This one's looking really good.
All right, so I'm going to stop the video there, but that gives us a really good video of how the weaver birds make their nest, and they will use grass that they find in the area around them, and then they weave it together so it all stays together up on a branch. And the interesting thing about weaver birds is it is the boys that make the nest. Another video that I watched showed a younger boy that was trying to build a nest, and he was having some problems with it, but he kept trying and trying and trying. And that made me kind of think about how sometimes when we design things and we build things, we have trouble with them or they don't work the way we think they're going to, and so we have to try again. And I just thought it was interesting that animals have some of the same struggles that we have, but they still keep trying. So now we're going to think about what materials did the weaver bird use. So I told you how he uses grasses. So they will go to where there's really tall grasses and they will tear off pieces of grass from real close to the ground, and then they'll fly back up to the nest. And it takes about 1,000 pieces of grass for them to make their nest. So that is a lot of materials that they need to make one nest. And then I talked about how did he design his home. He weaves those grasses through the other pieces of grass, and he starts off with just one circle of grass, and then all the other pieces are attached to that and build from that. So it's pretty cool how that works. Let's look at another example of an insect now and see how he is building his home. So again, another way that something in nature builds. So the spider is building its web, and this is what he uses to catch his food. So we know that insects will fly into his web, get stuck, and then he has food to eat. What is different about the spider is that he makes his own materials. The spider makes like a silk, and that is what they use to make their webs. So where the weaver bird had to go find the materials that it was going to use to make its nest, the spider makes its own. So then that made me think, are there any materials that we could make that we could use for building? And that's something I want you to kind of think about over the summer. What materials could you make that would be good for building? Now we know that materials for building need to be solids. So what would that look like if we were going to make our own? So in your science notebook, I want you to make sure you have written down what material the spider used to make its web. We have one more video for this week, and I will see you then. Bye, everyone.